Ready for a motion? I guess
That's me.
that would be you.
All right. I move for the appointment of William Jenkins to the Board of Directors of the One Horse Business Improvement District.
Second the motion.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? If not, please cast your votes. And the motion passes unanimously, 9-0. We congratulate Bill and thank him for his service on the special district. Next is public comment. This is the point in the meeting where the public is invited to address City Council on items that do not appear on the agenda. All comments should be directed to City Council, and as always, we ask that everyone in chambers observe the decorum of these chambers, refrain from applause or support or discord with the speaker. There is a 3-minute time limit. If you come down here, the light on the lectern will be glowing green for the first 2.5 minutes, at which point it will turn yellow. That will tell you there are 30 seconds remaining. When it's red, your 3 minutes are up, and we would ask you to conclude your comments. Again, this is for non-agenda items, and no one has indicated a desire to speak by signing up on the public comment roster. Is there anyone who would wish to speak on a non-agenda item? Yes, come on down. And if you wouldn't mind stating your name and address for the record.
Hi, Jessica Skimmel, 11732 West Asbury Place, Lakewood,
We're not going to allow, oh, go ahead.
80228.
All right.
I just wanted to provide a quick definition just for the citizens of Lakewood to understand of what a quiet title is. It's an action to quiet title. It's a lawsuit to establish a plaintiff's title to land by compelling the adverse claimant to either establish a claim or to be quiet about his or her challenges or claims to the title. And I also just want to make it known that Jefferson County Public Schools has filed a quiet title action to claim 2090 South Wright Street. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Mr. Little, non-agenda item?
Good evening. My name's Randy Little with Ward 4, and I'm here tonight to talk a little bit about the Glennon Heights swimming pool. That's in my neighborhood, and over the years, in the past 20 years that I've lived in that neighborhood, this pool is open late in the year and closes early in the year, as far as I'm concerned and as far as the neighborhood goes. The hours per day are not that open. They open, and I'm not exactly sure the times, but they open late in the day and close early in the night. And there's a lot of adults in our area that would like to have that open swimming in the night. They have lanes in there that we can swim. And so I would like you to take a look at this from now until next summer when this is open and see what you can do about lengthening the hours and maybe having an adult swim in there and go from that direction. So that's all I really wanted to say. Thank you.
Thanks, Randy. Anyone else? This is on non-agenda items. I will not permit any comment on the reconsideration of the zoning. There is no new information. The only new information we will hear later. There is not, and we're going to hear that when we get that. There is no public hearing on the rezoning tonight. There is. This is a reconsideration only, as we will hear from our city attorney. Neither the city charter nor municipal code calls for a public hearing on a reconsideration of a rezoning ordinance. In fact, I would ask Tim to chime in right now.
That's correct. The charter requires, upon the presentation of the petition by the presentation of the declaration of sufficiency of the petition by the clerk tonight, the council is to immediately vote on reconsideration, and there's no provision in either the charter or the code for a public hearing.
The only new information that we're going to be able to consider tonight is item 9, which is the final determination sufficiency of referendum petition. That is the sole piece of new information that we will be able to consider tonight. I am asking you to follow the procedures in the chambers.
Yeah, but what about democratic rights being heard by our elected representatives?
All of the pertinent information that went into the decision on this case has been heard, went into the decision that was rendered on June 25th, and is now a matter of record in the case file.
Actually, it's not, since JPS filed a new lawsuit that states that the city has ownership rights that they have to give up in order to sell the property to.
That is,
Mr. Mayor, I would simply respond by saying that, again, there's no provision for public hearing. The chair has the discretion to set reasonable parameters on the proceedings tonight. It's content neutral in that you're not dictating which side can speak. Neither side will be able to present public testimony. And the question before the council is the reconsideration of the ordinance that you voted on previously following extensive public input.
well, again, the only information we're going to consider tonight is the new information that the city clerk is going to present to us, so I'm not going to accept public comment on non-agenda items.
So you're denying me my right to talk to the citizens of Lakewood and my elected representatives.
Yeah. I'm simply following the procedures of the Lakewood City Charter and Municipal Code.
And trampling on our constitutional rights. Thank you very much.
Anyone else in chambers wish to speak? With that, I will close public comment and would ask the clerk to, well, let me just read the instructions of the consent agenda. The use of the consent agenda has been made to expedite council action. It contains both resolutions and first reading ordinances. Resolutions are items of a routine nature. I don't believe we have any resolutions, so I was on the consent agenda tonight, so I will skip that. First reading ordinances appear on the agenda only for the purpose of setting future public hearing dates and ordering the newspaper publication of the proposed ordinance. No public comment will therefore be heard this evening on first reading ordinances. The public will have the opportunity to comment on the proposed ordinance during the scheduled public hearings on the date set tonight by City Council. And we won't be removing any of those items, so I'll skip that. So will the clerk please read the items on the consent agenda into the record?
The consent agenda consists of items 6, 7, and 8 only. Item 6, Ordinance O. 2012-17, declaring the intent of the City of Lakewood to acquire interest in property as needed for public purposes for the construction of a signalized pedestrian crossing in the 200 block of Union Boulevard and a connection to the RTD Federal Center Light Rail Station, and authorizing negotiations with property owners, acceptance of conveyance instruments, and possible condemnation of real property interests. Item 7, Ordinance O. 2012-18, authorizing the purchase of real property at 1195 Benton Street for open space, trail, and drainage purposes, including acceptance of a deed from the seller, conveyance of a deed to Jefferson County for the purpose of imposing an open space reverter clause, and acceptance of a deed from Jefferson County and entering into an intergovernmental agreement with the Urban Drainage and Flood Control District. And item 8, approving minutes of the regular city council meetings of April 9th, June 25th, July 9th, July 23rd, August 13th, and August 27th, all of 2012.
Thank you. Again, there are no resolutions to comment on this week's consent agenda. Nobody has indicated a desire to comment on the minutes of the past several city council meetings. Anybody want to comment on those? All right, with that, I will close public comment on the consent agenda. I'm ready for a motion.
Mayor Murphy, I move for approval of the council minutes for acceptance of the minutes of boards and commissions. Order all ordinances introduced on first reading to be published in the Denver Post with public hearing set for the day included in the ordinance, all of which are included in the consent agenda items introduced into the record by the city clerk.
Second the motion.
Thank you. We have a motion and a second on the consent agenda. Any questions or discussion? If not, please cast your votes. And the consent agenda on the first reading ordinances passes unanimously. Okay, on to the main event this evening, and that is, as we started to talk about briefly there, the the reconsideration of ordinance O-2012-11. There's a sequence of items 9, 10, 11, and 12, that are important. Things need to be done, need to be acted on in this sequence. Nevertheless, for purposes of full understanding and actually review of what has brought us to this point in time here on September 10th, I'm going to first ask, before we get to item 9, and that is the city clerk's report, first ask of City Attorney Tim Cox to give us a recap of where we are today, how we got here, and what our charter-mandated options are. Mr. Cox. Thank
you, Mr. Mayor and council members. We apologize in advance for those who've been at every stage of the proceedings and know all this history, but there are bound to be some people who have not been closely involved, so we thought we'd take a few minutes to summarize how we got to this point, and what happens tonight, and what happens hereafter. Earlier this year, the Jefferson County School District, R1, submitted an application to rezone its property at 2090 South Wright Street from planned development to 2R zoning, the small lot residential zoning. At the public hearing, representatives of the district testified that the district was planning to sell the property to the Rocky Mountain Deaf School, which had received a grant to construct a new school for grades K through 12 on the property. The application made its way through the usual rezoning process, and after a public hearing on May 16th of this year, the Planning Commission voted unanimously to recommend that the council approve the rezoning application. And on June 25th of this year, following a public hearing before the council approved the rezoning application by a vote of 8-3. A group of Lakewood residents then circulated a referendum petition seeking to overturn the council's decision, and on August 9th, 2012, the group submitted the petition to the Lakewood City Clerk's office. The clerk made the required initial determination of sufficiency in accordance with the Lakewood Municipal Code, and then a final determination of sufficiency. That determination was made in writing and distributed to the council today, and City Clerk Margie Greer is now obligated by the charter to present those findings to the City Council. So they have been presented in writing, but at this point we would turn to Margie to establish the necessary determination.
Ms. Greer.
Thank you. As Mr. Cox stated, on August 9th, I received 258 referendum petition packets containing over 8,000 signatures regarding the rezoning of 2090 South Wright Street. Per the charter, the number of valid signatures on a referendum petition must equal at least 3% of the number of registered voters at our last regular municipal election. So 3% of the 98,755 registered voters at our November 2011 election equals 2,963 signatures. That's the number of valid signatures required. So the following day, we obtained a voters registration list from Jefferson County Clerk and Recorder's Office, and our staff started verifying names, addresses, and registration dates. The Lakewood Municipal Code requires that an initial determination be given to City Council within 20 days of the petitions being filed in my office. Therefore, on August 29th, I forwarded to you my initial determination stating that we had received a total of 8,382 signatures and deemed 5,901 of them as valid. After the initial determination, a more comprehensive review was completed, which determined 6,013 signatures to be valid. In the meantime, my office received 52 requests from individuals to have their names, their signatures removed from the petitions. The Lakewood Municipal Code allows for signatures to be removed between the initial and final determination period. So after review of those 52 requests, we deemed that 32 of those were valid, and those signatures were removed. So, thus, the final determination memo before you tonight states that a total of 5,981 signatures are considered valid, and the petition is therefore deemed sufficient. In addition, last Friday, September 7th, I received a protest against the petition sufficiency in my office. However, late this afternoon, that protest was withdrawn. So once again, the protest was withdrawn, and the petition is deemed sufficient. So I'll turn it back over to our city attorney, Tim Cox, to let you know next steps.
Thank you, Margie. So, again, once this presentation of the final determination of petition sufficiency is made by the clerk, our charter requires that the council immediately vote on reconsideration. Now, there may be some difference of interpretation on what reconsideration might mean, but the charter goes on to say, and I'll quote, "If upon reconsideration the ordinance is not repealed in its entirety by a majority of all members of City Council, then the ordinance must be submitted to a special election." And I'm paraphrasing the second half of that sentence. But the significance is that the charter dictates the number of votes that must be made to repeal the ordinance in order for it to not go to a special election. Therefore, we need to have council act on this matter tonight. The charter sets forth the time period in which the presentation of sufficiency must be made. This is the meeting at which that presentation must be made in accordance with the charter. And again, if a majority of the entire council, as I just read, so the entire council, 11 members, majority being 6, regardless of the number here tonight, 6 affirmative votes on a motion to repeal the ordinance previously approved by the council is necessary for the repeal to take place. If those 6 affirmative votes are not obtained, so if 5 or fewer members of the council vote to repeal, then the matter would go to a special election, which we'll talk about briefly in just a moment. Again, to be clear on the motion, there's some question circulating about what the vote should be on, what the question before the council should be. But in keeping with the language of the charter, it is my recommendation that the question before the council be whether to repeal the ordinance that was approved by the City Council on June 25th. Moreover, because the City Council votes on motions that are seconded, I've recommended that the council president make a motion to repeal the ordinance and have provided specific language for such a motion. So again, the point there is, in order to bring a matter before the council, a motion and a second must be made. As is always the case, the fact that a council member makes a motion or seconds a motion is not a reflection of the merits or that individual member's view on the merits of the case. It is merely to bring the matter before the council and does not dictate how those individuals must vote on the motion once presented. To be clear then, we'll have the text of the motion, which actually I'll read to you, the recommended motion, so that everyone can hear it before the motion is made. We recommend the motion be made to repeal Ordinance O 2012-11, an ordinance to rezone land located at 2090 South Wright Street, which was approved by the City Council on June 25th, 2012, in its entirety. And then, to be clear, a yes vote on that motion, as made by the council president, would be a vote to repeal the ordinance. A no vote on that motion would be to affirm the council's previous approval and to submit the question to the electors at a special election to be scheduled later this evening if the ordinance is not repealed. That brings us to the final 2 items on the agenda, which are the resolution to schedule the special election proposed for December 4th and a first reading of an ordinance to appropriate funds to pay for the special election in the amount of $220,000. Both of those would become necessary, again, if the council votes to send the matter to a special election. If the council votes to repeal the ordinance, neither of those items would be voted on tonight or at any time. Are there any questions about the procedures for this evening?
Just to be clear and reemphasize the recommendation you made a minute ago on the language, specific language you recommended is a procedural recommendation recommending a motion to deny, not a policy or staff recommendation.
Exactly. It is merely a case of presenting the question as the charter contemplates it, in the form the charter contemplates it, and that would be a motion to repeal, with every council member free to vote yes or no, as is always the case.
Does everyone on council understand that? Okay. I wonder if it would be advisable to read item 10 into the record.
Item 10, reconsideration of ordinance O 2012-11 to rezone land located at 2090 South Wright Street, City of Lakewood, County of Jefferson, State of Colorado.
Okay, we have the instructions read to us. Council is clear on the procedural aspects going forward. I now turn to Ms. Hodson.
Thank you, Mayor Murphy and City Council. This afternoon, I received a request from the applicant in writing, and this is relevant to your decision today, so I'd like to read this letter to you from the applicant, specifically Cindy Stevenson, Superintendent of Jeffco Schools. Now, I've made a copy for each of you and placed it in front of your stations before the meeting, so you can follow along. I'll read the letter in its entirety. On behalf of Jeffco Public Schools, I regrettably request the Lakewood City Council rescind the rezoning decision of July 25th, 2012 for the 2090 South Wright Street property. We make this request not because this rezoning action lacks merit. The merit was clearly established by the favorable staff report, a unanimous approval of the Lakewood Planning Commission, and a supermajority approval by the Lakewood City Council. We make this request because these are times of financial distress and economic uncertainty. Therefore, we believe it is unconscionable to ask the citizens of Lakewood to spend $250,000 on a single issue special election. Our request in your vote to rescind will demonstrate both fiscal common sense and a desire to turn down the volume of political discourse that surrounds this matter. Sincerely, Cynthia Stevenson, Superintendent. This is a request by the applicant to you to consider tonight, and again, it was submitted in written form.
And submitted when, precisely?
I received it today at 1:40 during our budget study session this afternoon. You might have seen an envelope came down the hall by Carol Gosnell. That's when I received it, 1:40 this afternoon.
Okay. I think I'm going to follow the normal custom before discussion and ask for a motion and a second on that motion before we begin our discussion.
I move to repeal ordinance O 2012-11, an ordinance to rezone land located at 2090 South Wright Street, which was approved by this City Council on June 25th, 2012, in its entirety.
Second the motion.
So obviously this is a last-minute request by the applicant. Most of council has had a couple of hours to begin to soak this in. We have a procedural 4 o'clock meeting, but it's still relatively new information. I will ask that individual council members take their time and gather their thoughts and offer any comments that they may have. This has been a long process, and certainly, if I remember Dr. Stevenson's words, she talked about a positive staff report recommendation. She talked about a unanimous vote of the Planning Commission, and she talked about a supermajority vote of City Council that approved this. I believe that shows the support of this organization for this school. in this location. Nevertheless, we have a request from the applicant that I would suggest we need to consider. Take your time. This is. Go ahead.
I've never been good with long silences. It's with a very heavy heart that I made the motion and that I will vote for the motion. I strongly believe that we need a home for this school, and this is an appropriate home. But under the circumstances, I must take into consideration the desires of the school district. I think it shows a level of responsibility by the school district. They are a good citizen neighbor. They want to do the right thing. And I have a lot of respect for the school district. And hopefully, I don't know what the future will bring, but I wish you all the best of luck, and I will vote in favor of rescission.
Councilor Wickman?
I also wanted to commend the school district for a very wise decision. I had kind of drawn the same conclusions that I didn't want to spend a lot of money, and I thought it was getting to be very acrimonious. So I thought the best thing would be to withdraw, and I'm glad that they did that. And I think we really should salute the school district for some real wisdom and some real good neighborness there.
Thank you. Anyone else? Councilor Paul?
Thank you, sir. It's been a tough road since June. It's been one of facts and of emotion. And when you look at the factual side, I have to say this council made the right decision. 2R zoning is appropriate for 2090 Wright Street. We have it mixed throughout our whole community. The emotional side to that is people live next to there. Their lives would be different, but not to the extent that was told and what you'd hear. I mean, schools are the fabric of our communities, so it's really hard to try to balance that. It's hard for all of us up here to try to look at the facts, get rid of the emotion, and make those decisions. And I feel strong that we did that. And I do appreciate the school district and where they're coming from with their letter in asking us. With that said, I've never seen an issue like this unfold. And to me, it's regrettable. It's embarrassing. We, not only as elected officials, but as adults in our community, it's our job to provide for the children and provide and be that voice for children for the future. And to say if this was a discussion about a big box store or something along those lines going into somebody's community, I see how I could definitely be fighting with the neighbors right across the street. This is a school. It's a school for our children. So that's why, another reason I guess why it's been so tough is to try to understand why my neighbors have said we don't want a school. But I can tell you I'm also one of those neighbors, and I welcome your school. And you have advocates on this council who will continue to support you and your cause, because Lakewood is inclusive, and we do welcome people of all kinds, and children are important to our community because you folks may be the next leaders of our community. And I sat here the night of the rezone, and I watched kids who were in their first experience coming to see Civics 101 and to see how public policy works and happens. And it was tough. I saw a little girl sit right here and have somebody at that lectern tell her, I don't know why you want to be in my neighborhood. We don't want you. I tell you what, we do want you. So I will support this request, but you got some allies. Thank you.
Councilor Coop?
I'll support this, the school district's request to vote for this, vote against it, whichever it is. They came to us the first time. I voted for it. I would vote for it again tonight. It's the right thing to do. I have no question about that whatsoever. I don't care about the special election. Didn't care go. The process was put in place by the people long before us. I respect that process. To put it before the people of Lakewood, don't care about the money. Didn't make a bit of difference to me. You wanted to hear what the citizens, how they felt on it? That's fine. Even though I think a lot of these signatures were gathered by misrepresentation. Enough to keep it off the ballot? I have no idea. Don't care. I think a lot of them were. I would vote for this again. I would vote for this school in a heartbeat, given the same information that we were given the last time. But the applicant brought this decision to us in the first place to make a decision on, and now they're making us, they're asking us to make another decision. So I will support that decision as well. Wish you luck on your finding whatever location, whatever new school that you open. I look forward to hearing that it is going to be opening, wherever that may be.
Councilor Allen and then Councilor King.
I just want to thank Scott. That was an excellent way to put things, and I feel exactly the same way. Thanks.
Sue?
I agree with both Councilor Coop and Councilor Allen. Quite frankly, I'm a little disappointed in the way the school district has handled this, and I hope that when you have the groundbreaking at 2090, I'm invited.
I don't see any other lights on up here, so I will just give my quick comments. My support for the school at this site is a matter of record, not just on my vote on June 25th of this year, but subsequent follow-up at virtually every meeting, and every council meeting, every neighborhood meeting, public meeting. Nevertheless, I have to honor the request of the applicant and respect their reasons that they very clearly articulated in today's letter. I too wish best of luck to the school at whatever location you eventually settle in. I will be supporting the motion. Anyone else? All right, we have a motion and a second. Please cast your votes. The motion to reconsider ordinance O-2012-11 passes unanimously. Council's decision of June 25th, 2012 is hereby overturned. And Mr. Cox, this negates the reason, or any obligation to address item 11 or item 12?
That's correct.
Any general business, item 13?
None.
Ms. Hodson, any executive report?
No, sir. No report.
I had some reports. I'm going to dispense with whatever I had and ask if anyone else. I'll go to Mayor Pro Tem Coop first, see if there's any reports.
No report.
Karen?
I am going to just remind people that this Saturday at 9 a.m. is the Ward 1 meeting, and it's at 40 West Arts District at 1560 Teller Street.
Adam, anything? No report? Sue? Diana? Pete? Tom? Dave?
Yeah, actually, there's several things going on this week that I wanted to share. On Thursday, in the morning at 8 a.m. at Green Mountain High School, Superintendent Cindy Stevenson will be coming to the school to talk with parents in the community. Also that day, from 2 to 4, is going to be a senior legislative forum down at the Community Rec Center of the Apex in Arvada. And all day long here at the Lakewood Civic Center, there's going to be help with resumes and people getting jobs and stuff like that. And then in the evening is going to be the 40 West Arts Riot Show over on the east side of town. And then on Sunday, we've got 3 events. We've got the Second Wind Run in the morning there at the 6th Avenue Fairgrounds. We have a supporting the Rooney Ranch Recycling Center benefit at Solterra Retreat from 4 to 7. And finally, the Elks are having a benefit concert from 3 to 6 at 1455 Newland.
Thank you. Margie, anything?
Nothing, thank you.
Mr. Cox? Kathy? We're adjourned at 7:38.